And a good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Thank you very much for joining us on an absolutely beautiful Friday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined by
Scott Puryear.
Art Haynes will be with us a little bit later on, and for the next 2 hours, right here, talking sports and whatever. I'd like to hear from you at 417-447-1021, 447-1021, texting or phone, whichever you prefer. That is the line to call. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield in Fremont, Springfield. Scott, how long is it a bat sale? Is that what it is?
It's baseball, softball equipment.
It's equipment.
A lot of bats, some gloves, a lot of shoes, a lot of cleats and things of that nature. It goes through Sunday. And, of course, tomorrow is ice cream day, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I believe they've got a Highland Dairy set up over there. The lovely Mrs. Salyers will be handing out ice cream. I think Sal said they handed out over 500 last time they did it. So, but yeah, so it should be a very festive atmosphere and get some great savings on your baseball and softball gear.
And this is the final weekend for it. It does end on Sunday. Of course, Play It Again Sports has great deals for you all the time. Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, just a little bit north of Nixa. Get that golf swing down just right for the big matches coming up. Citizens Bank of Rogersville, one of our sponsors. They have two routes. One is right adjacent to Highland Springs, and the other is in Rogersville itself. And by Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, a couple of left turns, and you're there at Marshfield Chevrolet. So a big weekend in sports, the World Cup getting to its semifinal round, completing quarterfinal rounds now. And baseball and the All-Star game coming up next week.
It is, yeah. And, of course, Hell Day for us is next Thursday, I believe. That's the day that we go, okay, what do we talk about today?
One game. There is one Major League Baseball
coming up that day, but I mean, in terms of what we talked about from Wednesday, yeah, and that's when the ESPN used to put the was it not, the ESPYs or whatever they're.
Do they have that this year?
I don't know if they even have anything anymore because I saw the home run derbies on Netflix Monday night, which is not. That's going to take some getting used to because ESPN and correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it this the first year that's not been on ESPN?
Correct.
Yeah. Things like that I guess I was so accustomed to, like ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. We get to Sunday night, I'm like, hey, who's playing tonight? I can't find it because it's not on there. It's either on Peacock or NBC or.
It is NBC now, but during the football season, of course, it'll vary.
Well, and I think some of them they've actually just put on Peacock. Some of the matchups on Sunday night.
Well, earlier it was when the NBA was in operation, but so now it's NBC.
You just can't find anything anymore where it used to be because of all the money moving around and different deals. But no, big weekend. The thing about the All-Star game, it is next Tuesday in Philadelphia, but all the kind of the fun stuff going on this weekend really to get started. Of course, we had the young lady from Marshfield on Monday. She's playing in the Jenny Finch Classic up there, and good luck to her and Kendall Dolan. And then tomorrow with the draft, and we've got a lot of interest there locally with 2 or 3 guys over the weekend could hear their name called. By the way, we're speaking to one of those, Caden Bogenpole, the former Bears standout, at 8:30 today, part of our lineup. I'll just get into that. 7:30, we're going to talk with Kent Mueller of Missouri Milestones. It's a cool website out there, MissouriMilestones.com. It's still growing and still in its infancy stage, but really kind of fun to look at that website and see the history of Missouri high school sports, and then where some of these kids have gone on to college. That's developing as they move forward. But I was looking at some of the lists last night before I went to bed, and one of my favorites in my time at Drury was Heather Harmon. And she, I saw her listed in the women's high school basketball career scoring leaders. There's anybody that scored over 1,000 points is basically listed there. And I saw Heather was behind her sister, so I had to send a little text and give her a little trouble on that. But she countered back, as Heather does, with, well, I won 2 state championships, but then I did point out to her that she also outscored Sophie Cunningham, who is now playing in the WNBA. So that was a good thing. But MissouriMilestones.com, check it out. It's a fun website to go and look. And what it did for me, Ned, and I don't know if you've looked at it yet, but it jogs your memory as to some of the names from back in the 90s and 80s and 70s and before.
That's the key to it right there. And when we have a tendency, all of us, and the older you get, to forget some of those individuals who were key contributors, and there are many of them. And some of them are still very important names in the lexicon of sports.
Yeah, so Kent Mueller, the creator of that website, he and Guy Newcomb work in tandem on a lot of projects together. We'll talk to Kent at 7:30. Kyle Cliff, the Missouri State baseball recruiting coordinator, it should be an interesting conversation with him about how the Bears go about recruiting in this day and age of the portal and NIL, and then, of course, now coming up with the 5 to play 5 rule the NCAA is instituting. So an interesting
and I believe that starts this year.
They have the option. I think the kids coming in this year have the option to do it with this class. I think officially everybody starting next year.
2027.
Yeah, and so but we'll talk to Kyle about that. And then 8:30 we mentioned Caden Bogenpole, who by all accounts it sounds like we'll hear his name called tomorrow in the draft. It's the first 4 rounds tomorrow, I believe.
No, 10. It's 10 okay. Tomorrow and then 10 Sunday.
Yeah, and then, they've got picks. The way they've got this split up, it's actually 5 through 20 or Sunday.
It's the first 5.
Yeah, first 1 through 4 tomorrow. And here's how disjointed this is. The schedule is noon to 1:30 on preview show plus picks 1 through 10 on NBC and Peacock. Well, then they're jumping off. And then from 1:30 to 3:30 our time, picks 11 through 40 will be on MLB Network, MLB.com, MLB TV, and MLB Plus.
All done for television.
Yeah, and then 3:30 to 6:45, picks 41 through 135 only on MLB.com, MLB TV, and MLB Plus. Day 2 Sunday starts at 10:30 in the morning. That is rounds 5 through 20. That goes all the way through 6:30. So we think that we may hear Caden Bogenpole tomorrow afternoon. Curry Sutherland also in that mix, the former Bears or standout from Rogersville. We say former Bears standout, but he has an option to come back too, as does Bogey. But it sounds like if they get the right call, they're gone.
Yeah, sure.
And then Max Knight, the third Bear, the pitcher and position player, but probably a pitcher candidate for the draft.
Just what you were mentioning earlier, too, about how the fragmented Major League Baseball has, and I'm getting money for all this, of course, but that doesn't do the audience any good at all. What is the first format, and when does it start?
What
tomorrow?
Yeah,
10 a.m.
It's let me go back and find it because it's noon our time.
At noon, and who has that?
NBC/Peacock. So
and that's for how many rounds?
It's picks 1 through 10 only. Preview show and then picks 1 through 10.
This is ridiculous.
So they're going to suck you in with the preview stuff and then finally get into the picks.
Now, what is it that NBC goes to from there? Scottish Open or something?
Probably,
like that?
Yeah. I would say some kind of golf or. It's fun to kind of go through the guide and see what's on because there's some bad stuff on in the middle of summer. But, Major League Baseball draft, not the spectacle that the NBA and NFL drafts have become. NFL is like basically has become must-see TV with the first round because they make it a production and they build it up so much leading up to it. But MLB, none of the kids go.
Well, it's interesting, too, because NFL is the one, they laid the groundwork for all the others, and then when the others saw how successful that was, then they climbed on. It isn't the same. It doesn't have ESPN did a great job of programming their entire NFL draft. Well, Major League Baseball, this isn't altogether different. Now, they try. They go out of their way to get the video and so forth and so on, but it isn't quite the same.
No, and we've talked about it in the past, and Art will have thoughts on this too, but I think it's the nature of the MLB draft in that these guys are going to be picked, there's going to be a lot of hoopla about them, then we may not see them for 2 or 3 years. Usually if it's a high school kid, you're not going to see them for 2 or 3 years. If it's a college guy, it may be a year and a half before they get up to the big leagues. But the Royals pick 6th in the first round. The Cardinals pick 13th, I believe.
That's correct.
Cardinals have the most picks with 7 during the opening day there. So the Cardinals will be very active on opening draft day tomorrow.
Do you remember, I think you were probably still at McDonald County, when the Major League Baseball draft began?
No. When was it?
1965.
No, I was 2. then.
Oh, is that all you were?
Yeah.
You were a kid.
I was 2 years old.
Do you know who the first player was?
Well, I was looking for my binky at that time and saying, can you change me? I'm sitting in poop right now, but I don't.
Well, you would have seen him play as he got older. Rick Mundy.
Okay. Yeah. And now the draft is complicated because there's first-round picks, then there's compensatory picks, and there's picks for doing this and doing that with rookies and everything else. And so, we'll be watching that. The Futures game, in another weird timing thing, is 11 a.m. our time on Sunday. And we've got a couple Springfield Cardinals in that. I believe that is also a Peacock production, NBC and Peacock Sunday at 11 our time.
Oh, NBC is included in that?
Yeah, it says NBC and Peacock, 11 a.m. Sunday, Futures game. Cardinals have Liam Doyle and Reynolds Rodriguez, both Springfield Cardinals, and both representing the organization. That is the top pitcher and hitter in their organizational rankings there. So they'll be there. The Royals have Kendry Churio, who is a young pitcher. I think he may be 19 or 20 and still at high A. So a guy that will probably be at Northwest Arkansas before the year is over. But that Futures game, as it says, is a glimpse into the future of the guys you're going to hear a lot about. Jesus Madej, that we talked to Max Gifford about, that plays for Biloxi. He's kind of the marquee guy as the number one overall prospect, but should be a lot of fun. Monday night, the Home Run Derby. Again, not on ESPN. We don't get Chris Berman and back. We get somebody else. Let's look and see who those announcers are. But news yesterday that Jordan Walker will be joining the Home Run Derby field. Obviously, the first time for him in his career. He warmed up with a 3-run homer up into the
this was really interesting the way he hit that one, too, last night. You could see it coming because he worked the count full, 3-2, 2 runners on, and the Milwaukee pitcher, I don't remember who it was, there's no option. He can't groove it. He doesn't want to load the bases. He has to groove it, I should say. He doesn't want to load the bases at all. He put one right down the middle, and Walker hit that one 800 miles.
It was quick, too. Boom, gone. And you know, he just puts his head down, runs the bases. There's no bat flip or anything like that these kids today, if you want to watch somebody, watch how Jordan Walker plays the game, because you got so many of these guys that are don't watch Contreras, the Red Sox, the former Cardinal, Wilson Contreras, because he's a horse's rear out there on the field. But Jordan Walker does it the right way, respectful, doesn't show up the pitcher, just hits it a long ways and then runs around the bases, and that's the way it should be. But those announcers for the Home Run Derby with Netflix, Matt Vasgersian, I can't even say it, Matt Vasgersian, it's always hard for me to say, Hunter Pence and Anthony Rizzo. On the color commentary, L. Duncan, more of the desk work there. So Barry Bonds.
Has Hunter Pence been doing baseball commentary?
I don't know.
Because he hasn't been out of the game very long.
No, and neither is Rizzo. This is kind of Rizzo new for him. But Barry Bonds and Albert Pujols will be chiming in with L. Duncan, a reaction-focused desk. Got to have one of those now. By the way, Jordan Walker is no Cardinal has ever won the Home Run Derby. The closest they've been was Albert Pujols in 2003 as the runner-up. Albert Pujols was also the last Cardinal to participate in the Home Run Derby back in 2022. So good luck to Jordan Walker, and I don't think I'm probably alone in this and being a little nervous about and, of course, Jack Caglione will be in there for the Royals too, but Jordan Walker just getting his swing and timing and everything lined out, and now you're going to the Home Run Derby, because we've seen some guys come out of that thing a little messed up with their swing for a couple weeks. So hopefully Jordan Walker will be able to reprogram himself when the second half starts.
I think he's smart enough to see the pitfalls involved in that, and he's certainly bright enough to overcome them.
Young man's game with the Home Run Derby, because you got Jordan Walker, you got Jack Kaggs, Ben Rice, who's been just a breakout star this year for the Yankees. I think he had 2 homers and 5 ribbies yesterday. And then Junior Caminero joining Wilson Contreras and the old man, Bryce Harper, in the field. So
he's there. Yeah, he was a legend pick for the All-Star game because it is in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And he'll do all right in that.
He will. And you talk about some of the hot swinging kids there with Caminero and Walker. Found this out nugget about Jordan Walker. It says that he is a 79.1 mile per hour average bat speed and an 85.7% fast swing rate. And the only hitter in baseball with better metrics in either category is Junior Caminero.
Of the Tampa Bay Rays, who is really an up-and-coming star.
His Walker's 94.2 mile per hour average exit velocity is tied for fifth highest among qualified hitters. So a lot of stuff coming up with the All-Star game. That's kind of the weekend wrap-up. The Keith Law's latest mock draft, we'll get into that here in a little bit, but it could be any one of three guys basically going to the White Sox with the first overall pick. High school shortstop Grady Emerson out of the Fort Worth, Texas area. Georgia Tech catcher Von Lackey, or UCLA shortstop, and I don't know if it's Roch Chalowski or Roche, R-O-C-H, but could any of those three could end up going 1, 2, 3 to the White Sox, and then the Royals pick sixth. Projections have them taking Mason Edwards, a left-handed pitcher out of USC. So Cardinals, the projection I saw from Keith Law had them using that 13 pick to take Florida pitcher Liam Peterson, 6'5" right-hander. So other first-rounders that could go, Arkansas catcher Ryder Helfrich, probably mid to late first round, and then Hunter Dietz, also the Arkansas pitcher, could be in that first round as well. So let's take a timeout and then talk Cardinals and Royals from last night.
You are listening to the starting lineup, and we'll be right back. And the Cardinals will be here at 102.1. Later on tonight, open up a series with the Atlanta Braves. Fire away with your starting five.
Yeah, World Cup yesterday had one match, and France, the kind of the favorite going down the stretch here, defeats Morocco 2-0. They get a goal and assist from Mbappe. It's just one of the fun names to say in professional soccer. But France moves on into the semifinals. Today you've got Spain and Belgium, a 2 o'clock match there, and then two matches tomorrow, Norway versus England and Argentina versus Switzerland, and that last one is in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. Semifinals will be on Tuesday with France taking on either Spain or Belgium. Tomorrow's two winners will play on Wednesday, and then the finals are a week from Sunday for the championship, the World Cup. And is the Golden Boot most valuable player, or is it the guy who scores the most goals? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's kind of the individual award. I was listening to the Wiesen guys coming in, and that's pretty hotly contested because you've got all these stars. I'm looking real quick to see.
Oh, how many goals does Messi have?
Good question. He's in the hunt there with Mbappe and Haaland from Norway, and the Golden Boot goes to the tournament's top goal scorer. Okay. So it's not an award, saying, hey, he's the best player, or he's the MVP. It's pretty cut and dried. You score the most goals, you win the Golden Boot, and I heard the Wiesen guys talk about the competition for that's pretty strong down the stretch. So, Major League Baseball yesterday, the Royals fell in a day game 7-3 to the Mets. They lost 2 out of 3 in that series. Kansas City led 2-1. The Mets score 5 runs in the fifth off Michael Wacha. Not a great tune-up for him going to his first All-Star game, as he gives up 6 runs and 6 hits in 4 2/3 innings. Juan Soto hit his 21st homer for New York. The Royals move on to Baltimore. They take on the Orioles to close out the unofficial first half. Luinder Avila takes on Brandon Young in that pitching matchup. And so I think the Royals could get Vinny Pasquantino back tonight. A short rehab outing there. Of course, he had the hamate bone industry that's basically an epidemic this year in Major League Baseball, but could get Vinny P back in the middle of that lineup. Cardinals lose 8-4 to Milwaukee. They drop 4 of the 5 games in that series. Logan Henderson, another one of their good young pitchers, comes off the IL. He'd been having some back stiffness that had sidelined him for about 3 weeks to a month. He kept the Cardinals in check for the most part of his 6 innings. Gave up 3 hits. One of those was J.J. Weatherholt to lead off the game. Ripped a double out into right center, and Henderson kind of adjusted from there. It looked like the Cardinals might jump on him early, and he got out of there with no runs. And so Jake Bauers, a 3-run homer to kind of get the Milwaukee offense going, and another loss for the Cardinals in a key matchup. And as you said all week, this would be one that would kind of tell the Cardinals, are you in it or are you not in it? probably not in it in terms of winning the NL Central.
Well, they're 10.5 games behind out of first place, but that's a goal that I don't think is realistic. But wild card is, and they're still in the hunt. There'll be 4 wild card teams, and the fact is that the Cardinals are still at least on the verge of being able to be a wild card club. But they've got to keep winning. They've got to do well in this Atlanta series. But I really think, like all of next week, Chaim Bloom is going to probably be doing some calling and inner meetings to decide whether or not you do make a deal or do you keep what you have. I think in my opinion, it would be keeping what you have and not really making any serious deals at all.
I think they'll be sellers. They're not going to be buyers because that goes against what they're trying to do. But sellers-wise, they need to clear some room because they are kind of getting a little backed up, which is always a good problem to have in baseball. It's not good in life if you're backed up, right, Ned?
Well, you have, yeah, but you do have circumstances in the minor leagues like Baez, who needs to come up and start playing right now.
He does. They need to see what they've got in him. You know, I think he's at 28 home runs at Memphis, and you know, he does have a strikeout problem, but he's also a guy when he hits it, it goes a long ways, and he steals bases too, and so. You know, Newt Barr's a candidate. I think we've talked about Dustin May is probably the most marketable, and also I believe making the most money on that roster.
And he would go unless the Cardinals feel like they can re-sign him.
Yeah, I think they look down at Memphis and they see guys like Quinn Matthews and some others and say let's get what we can. Let's get a couple more prospects for Dustin May and maybe Newt Barr. Ship him off to. You know, somebody like a Milwaukee or a Yankees or somebody that's in contention and needs that extra arm for the stretch run. But, yeah, and then I don't know on the Royals. I mean, Art's talked about it too, but I don't know what they've got that's marketable or that they're willing to part with. You know, Lane Thomas maybe as a utility outfielder type guy for somebody out there, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see Cardinals with the Braves and Drake Baldwin coming to town this weekend. Chris Sale and Kyle Leahy, the matchup tonight. So it doesn't get any easier for the Cardinals facing Chris Sale in St. Louis tonight. Springfield Cardinals, they put up 12 runs and 15 hits. They get a 12-6 win over Tulsa. They had dropped the first 2 games in that series, get the win yesterday. It is a matchup of the top 2 teams in the second half of the Texas League North race. Back in a tie there. Trey Richardson, the third, a 3-run homer to help get Springfield started. Again, games continuing tonight through Sunday down in Tulsa to close out that series. Cardinals are off the first part of next week, and they're back home next Friday through Sunday, taking on Amarillo in just a 3-game set. Then they're back out on the road down to Springdale to play Northwest Arkansas for 6. Next full homestand for the Cardinals will be starting July 28th when Wichita comes to town there. So Wimbledon, we're kind of getting down the stretch we come there, as Art would say, and Coco Gauff had a little boo-boo yesterday.
She did indeed. It really went down to the final set, and the final set went to a tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker score was 12-10. Excuse me, that's a very lengthy tiebreaker, and one in which the advantage went back and forth between the two of them. Coco Gauff was playing Karolina Muchova, who is a very fine player. Muchova eventually won it by 12-10. That sets up the title match tomorrow, which is Muchova against Nestova. Thank you, sports fans.
The Ovas, right?
However, the big deal, and I guess maybe being a little biased in this, is the men's semifinals today. The first one could very well be already underway. I'm not sure, but the way they have the things timed out. But this is Alexander Zverev, who is 6'7". He's a German player, and he is just coming into his own. He's 27, 28, somewhere in that vicinity, playing Arthur Ferry. Now, Arthur Ferry is a wild card. Never, ever do you see wild cards going this far, and yet he has. He's a kid who was born in France, raised in London, and went to college at Stanford. And
well, there you
go. All-America Stanford. He is 5'10", and he's facing 6'7" Alexander Zverev. Okay, Ferry is a massive underdog. The other semifinal match, two veteran headline champions, Jannik Sinner, the defending champ, and 7-time Wimbledon champion Novak Djokovic. That should be outstanding.
I lost track of this, but did the Williams have to withdraw from the doubles because of the injury to
Yes,
Serena?
they had to, and Venus Williams she was in the mixed doubles as well, and she and her partner were beaten. And of course, one of the rules is you have to go to the mandatory press conference. Venus Williams said, "I'm not going." $50,000 fine.
Wow!
And of course, that means
Could
nothing
you not
to them.
just go and answer the questions and be
That's
done
all you
with
have to
it?
do.
I mean, can you think of all the places that could use that $50,000 and charity and things like that, and you just can't get your butt to a press conference? Yeah, unbelievable. Scottish Open is underway overseas, and of course, after round one, there were a group of guys at 5 under. Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay, and Tom Kim were among those. Now there's Jordan Smith, not to be confused with Jordan Smith Jr., the Arkansas basketball recruit, but Jordan Smith of England, -9 now. He shot 7 under today, a 63. He has the lead. He's in the clubhouse at -9. Nikolai von Dellingshausen, that noted golf name, is -7, along with Matt Fitzpatrick, who's about to finish his round. And then a lot of the guys that were -5 have not teed off yet.
All right, Scheffler was 2 under after the first round. Has he started to play yet? Because he was late yesterday.
Yeah, he should be early today. Let me look down through here and see where Scotty is. But always the betting favorite anytime he tees it up. Of course, this is the Scotty Scheffler -1 for the tournament, +1 today through 17.
Oh, he's almost done.
Scotty's probably not going to win the Scottish Open, and he's okay with that because the Open Championship next week, I'm sure he'd rather have that. But looking to see anybody who's blown up over there and gets an early start on practicing over for the Open.
McIlroy is probably later on this afternoon, I imagine.
Yeah, he was an early poster yesterday, and I don't see. I'm trying to see if there's any names that you'd recognize that have blown up in this thing and are out of it, but not really. Shane Lowry +1. He goes later on today. He's a guy that always plays well over there. And
I didn't see much of it, but they did have some highlights on yesterday, and it looked like ideal weather conditions for the Scottish Open. Sun out and nice and warm. And
yeah, I was watching the native grass there. Was it the gorse? What do they call it?
Gorse.
Gorse, yeah. Not moving. I'm like, when is the last time you saw a tournament over there where that wasn't even moving in some type of breeze?
And it's right there on the sea.
Yeah. One other note, the Conference USA men's basketball schedule is out, came out yesterday. CUSA is a 10-team league now. They'll play an 18-game league schedule of Thursday, Saturday games, and every team plays home and home with everybody. So 18 games, 9 opponents twice. Thursday, Saturday, weren't they kind of all over the board last year? Weren't there some Wednesdays, Saturdays?
There were some oddities in there. I don't remember exactly what it was. Now, does it say that there's going to be a conjunction with the women's games as well?
I think the schedule will be. No, I don't think that. You mean in terms of double headers on sites? I haven't seen that, but I would think the women's schedule would probably be out today if they released the men yesterday.
Gosh, yes.
But so 18 league games for the Bears this season, a 10-team league. We'll see what Conzo's put together for that as well. Let's take our time out and let's talk some Missouri milestones.
This is the starting lineup. Thanks for being with us. Back in just a second. And the starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, and by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
And a special guest.
Yeah, normally this spot occupied by scoreboard Guy Newcomb, but Guy is handing the baton to one of his buddies, a guy he works closely with on a lot of their content on the Scoreboard Guy materials, the Missouri Sports Network. But we welcome in Kent Mueller, and Kent has started the website MissouriMilestones.com. We were talking about it at the start of the show, that really cool website and a great place to jog your memory and see see stats and scoring and all that fun stuff. Kent, good morning.
Well, good morning to you.
I guess my first question is, how did all this come about? What made you want to start MissouriMilestones.com?
Well, the first part of it was what I do with following the Missouri graduates into college. Following high school sports, I realized that, of course, the better athletes, most of them go on to play in college. But in our busy lives and reloading on the high school level, we tend to forget about a lot of the athletes that, in fact, almost all the athletes that go on to play in college. Those that live above the fold, that catch the national media, we know about those, but there are so many more doing really good things all across the country in all the sports that we don't hear anything about. So I started nosing around and figure out some ways to develop rosters of every Missouri high school graduate who's playing in the NCAA or NAIA. I cover 13 sports, and then I assemble those rosters, and then I track their stats during the season with leaderboards.
Was there any one athlete, Ken, that kind of sparked your memory and sparked the impetus to do this?
No, not really one at the beginning, but it seems like, most every year there is somebody that steps to the fore that maybe it's geographic, because I'm in Kansas City. There was a young lady, and her name slips my mind right now, but she was a star at New York University in women's basketball. She was out of Kirkwood High, and she was a National Player of the Year in D3 2 years in a row. And she had a fabulous career.
Looking at you've got it broken down into high school leaders and in college, and obviously it's a work in progress. It's a massive undertaking as you're going to continue. I'm sure baseball will come in at some point, correct? And
right, yeah.
How do you find the numbers? What is the process for? I know Mish's website probably is a source for you, but kind of talk about that process.
Different sources for the two sides. The high school side, where I have the all-time list for specific statistics for Missouri high school graduates. That's my high school edition. For example, 1,000-point scores for both boys and girls basketball. I have over 3,000 Missourians who've scored over 1,000 points. 1,700 boys and 1,300 girls. Those come from the high schools largely. I've emailed almost every high school asking for their lists. I take them, I assemble them, I put them, I add them. Obviously, there are new people going on that list, all those lists each season. I catch those off of social media. People now email me with additional information. People outside of me are largely responsible for sending that information to me. Yes, Misha and a couple of other places have short lists that, yes, I accumulate those, but my numbers are beyond those.
Kent, is it fair to say that most of those more than 3,000, 1,000 point per game went on to college?
I think that's probably a fair statement. Additional features into the future, I want to track that and then hot link over to a separate athlete page that will expand on their high school career and then also a college or pro career if they've had those.
I think one of the things that's done for me, just looking at it here in just the last couple of days that I started diving into it, is it reminds me of how great some of these kids were, and it also reminds me of names that I'd kind of forgotten. Because when Ned and I get off on one of our things where we're going to name the Mount Rushmore of high school basketball, and we leave off 10 kids that should be in there, I can go to Missouri Milestones now and look and say, oh, yeah, I remember him and her. But the one that kind of jumped out to me is I had kind of forgotten just how dominant Dorial Green Beckham was in high school football. And I'm looking at your receiving all-time yards. Dorial had 6,356 yards in his career. That's almost 1,700 yards ahead of the next guy, Luke Montgomery from Glendale, another local guy. Sure. So that, I think that's one thing it's going to. And then in the basketball, I went back and looked, and guys like John Brown are in there in the scoring list. And I think one thing I had a question was, and I was going to ask Ned and Art this as well as we kind of dove into this, but how many fewer games did a guy like John Brown play versus some of these kids today? And have you been able to kind of scale that a little bit?
Well, just kind of a gut feel, and also I'm old enough. I go back to some of those earlier years. Yeah, a 2022 game season sometimes was it. And now you have the 26 plus postseason. So the better players tend to be on the better teams. They can get 30
more games. Yeah, Ned, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So yes, that's true, but then you also have to the entry of the 3-point shot, and with the women about that same time, they went for about 10 years playing with the larger boys basketball before they developed the girls basketball. So that held scoring down too. So there's a number of asterisks out there to pay attention to.
Ned, the one that I think is amazing is Fred Johnson's career 3,552 points. He finished in 1986, still stands as the most points ever in Missouri history. And just like you said, Kent, the 3-point shot and the emphasis now on more up and down the court play, for that record to stand, that's pretty amazing.
And who did Fred beat? With Bill Roundtree, his high school teammate.
Yeah, who is now fourth on that list. Jerron Rush out of Pembroke Hill, number 2 there. But like Isaac Haney that finished his career at Kickapoo, I'd forgotten he was a 3,100-point scorer. So it's a fascinating project you've done here, Kent, and I guess the work will never be done because there'll always be more kids that are threatening to be in the list, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And one thing I want to point out about for your listeners there, I just was playing around with it. I was preparing for this, and I put in the year 2000, sorted by the year 2000. What comes up about 25 boys' career 1,000-point career scorers. Number 1 is David Cucci out of Seymour. It's right in your backyard there. He scored 2,182. And then when you scroll down, you'll find about 20,000-point scores out of that year for the girls. The top 2 are both from Nixa, which is really unusual to have 2,000-point scores. But Terry Ann Wolford scored 2,267 in her career, and Hope Hunt scored 1,668.
So when you look back on your stats there, when do you start to keep track of the girls and basketball?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
The year that you begin to start establishing.
My oldest one, I will go back as far as I can find. The oldest, the furthest back girl goes back to, I think, 1956.
56, yeah, okay.
And for boys, my oldest, I think, is like 1946.
Wow.
And with the girls, of course, you have to take into consideration that I'm assuming, anyway, that they play the half-court basketball.
That is correct. And I'm in the process of coming up as to see, there is not everybody made that conversion at the same time.
Correct.
So I'm going back to try to fix that. I don't have very many beyond 1965. So those are probably the three on each side of the court. The 6 woman basketball. So almost all of them are the 5. But yes, you're right. It does go back to the old rules.
The all-time women's basketball or girls' high school basketball career point scorer, Leah Cobble, was at Oran, O-R-A-N. Where did she?
Yes, Oran, I think is how.
Yeah, back in 2018. Where did she end up going to play? Because I wasn't familiar with her. Do you know?
I can't tell you.
And that is the beauty of your Missouri, the college division of it. You can probably track from one to the other, correct?
Yes, my first year for the college edition was I started mid-winter season this last year. So I had men's and women's basketball, and then I had 6 sports for the spring season. I will have 5 sports for the fall season coming in this in the next month or so. And what I do with the college edition is I transition these athletes from, instead of what they did in high school, what they're doing in college. I have over around 2,700 athletes from Missouri high schools who played winter or spring sports, those 8 sports, either in the NCAA or the NAIA. And by sport, then during the season, I will go in and I'll extract their year-to-date stats and come up with leaderboards during the season and then at the end of the season. So, and I categorize those obviously by sport, but by the classification. I will have a top 10 for Division I men's basketball. And what that will be is, of all the men playing NCAA Division I basketball who graduated from Missouri, I will show you who the top 10 performers are in various stats.
Oh, gosh.
I have about 8-10 stats in there. I will be adding more. You can go in and you can search by sport. You can go in and you can search for a name, and some name. You go, how's he doing? You will find him or her if they are on a roster. I have every roster in there, and then also if they are on a top 10 list, one of my leaderboards, you will see which ones they're on.
Okay, Kent, here's the one to jog your memory now. You go back quite a ways in boys basketball. Where does Bill Bradley out of Crystal City, where does he rank on the scale?
On the high schools, Bill Bradley is number 8. Graduated in 1961 with 3,068 points.
And at Princeton University, he was everything.
And if I'm not mistaken, was that 3,000 points in high school, was that in 3 years or 4 years?
Oh, I think it would have been in 4.
Did they play?
Okay, would have been 4.
But at Princeton, it would have been 3 because I don't think you could play as a freshman.
Could you play as a freshman in Missouri in high school? Because at one point, I think it was,
question.
yeah.
I don't know.
Shout out to Barry Laurie, too. Versailles, 1978. He was almost a 3,000-point scorer. So, Spencer and Shane, if you're listening, your dad was good, too. You need to remember that.
Does Jason Tatum fall in the list anywhere? I would certainly think he would.
Okay. That could be one of the holes that I have. I don't have everybody. And I am still looking and accumulating. And what I'm running into, of course, is that some high schools simply don't have the data. Or they have it, but they're on spreadsheets and in folders in the back of a cabinet. And some schools have assembled their data because of what I brought to their attention, and now they have it up on their walls. I like that. Some schools are right on top of that, some not as much, and are catching up. I have one school, I'll leave nameless, just because it's out of their control. They sent me a very nice list of like 20 girls who had scored 1,000. And I said, well, what about the boys? And they said, well, Bill's house burned down.
Wow.
And Bill, yeah.
That's not
Bill's
good.
fault. Yeah, not good. So I also serve as a backup for houses burning down.
If you went in and started thinking about, okay, who are the best athletes of all time? Obviously, Dorial Green Beckham for what he did in basketball and football, but I had forgotten Brad Hawker. I knew for football he had so many. He was your rushing leader for so long there in total yards. He was a 3,000-point basketball scorer, too, at Archie, and Brad Hawker finished in 1992. I just remember. So those are the kind of things that it jogs a memory. And I guess, Kent, my big question is, if you were hit by a bus tomorrow, which we certainly don't wish that upon you, who's carrying on this for you? Because it's going to be ongoing and never ending, right?
That's a great question, and
Guy Newcomb.
I have two great friends that I've worked with along the way. One's Guy Newcomb, the Missouri Sports Network. We did a whole series of podcasts on this subject, but also Paul Perry here in Kansas City. He has a website called KC High School Hoops. .com, and it's the most popular high school basketball website here in Kansas City. We met because I highlighted his daughter when she went over 1,000 points. I didn't know that was his daughter, and he contacted me, went out for coffee. He is an IT professional, so he built my website. So he knows more about my website than I do. I know more about the data, but the backside, he's the genius.
And again, the why for all this, are you a stat geek, or were you bored? Kind of what said, hey, I want to take this on because it's a monumental project.
Well, I'm a financial analytical history professionally, both with commercial banking and investments. So I've always said, hey, give me a spreadsheet and I'm happy. That will, I can spend. Some people get fascinated with the Rubik's cube. A spreadsheet sorting through data makes me happy. The one thing I'd like to point out on the college edition, if you go in and you search, like say for Drury, and then you'll come up with women's basketball. They've had some obviously very good teams, and for instance, if you put in Drury and you scroll down to women's basketball, you will see that Sarah Mendel of Ava down in your area, she's the number 2 scorer of all D2 women coming out of Missouri. She scored 16.1 points a game last year. Rye Gibbons of Nixa, 14.5. She was the 4th highest scorer of all Division II women. And then they also had Kaylee King of Ellington. So you can, if you're following Ava graduates, Nixa graduates, that serves your purpose. But hey, if you're a Drury fan, you can go in and see the local people, local being defined by Missouri, and you can see who their local players are. So, and the coaches like what I'm doing because they all like to recruit locally, and they like that connection.
Well, Ken, it's fascinating stuff. Again, it's MissouriMilestones.com is the website. Go check it out. It'll be updated, I'm sure, daily, maybe even hourly with things as Kent continues to build it. But we appreciate your time and best of luck with the project. And we'll be checking that from, this time in the summer months. It's a great reminder of some people we can call, maybe get on for our Ozarks Legends too. So, but we certainly appreciate it, Ken, and best of luck to you.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
That is absolutely fascinating. Missouri Milestones. We'll take a timeout on the starting lineup and be right back. And we are back in the stretch run of the starting lineup. That's fascinating talking.
It is, yeah. And we were talking during the break. I'm kind of going down through the basketball list, and that is amazing that Fred Johnson's record is, finished in 86 before the three-pointer really took hold, is still the highest career points total in Missouri's high school basketball history.
He was at Wellsville along with Bill Roundtree. Freddie went to Three Rivers after that, and then came up here to the Bears.
Yeah, John Brown at Dixon scored 1,979 points in a career that ended in high school in 1969. So there are 187 men's players who have scored 2,000 or more points, according to the MissouriMilestones.com website. So, yeah, fun stuff to go back down and jog your memory on some great players back in the day.
Okay, what do we have coming up next?
Kyle Cliff's going to join us, the director of recruiting from Missouri State Baseball. That should be a fascinating discussion about their approach now. And then 8:30, Caden Bogenpole, who should hear his name called tomorrow in the Major League Baseball draft, former Bears standout. We'll talk to him at 8:30.
In the meantime, we will take our mid-show timeout on the starting lineup. Big second segment coming up. Please stay right where you are.